Good morning. In hopes of narrowing differences on Japan's wartime sexual slavery, Seoul and Tokyo will sit down for high-level talks on Wednesday, a sensitive subject for both countries and an issue in need of fast resolution. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe walks the walk to strengthen the country's military capabilities, making a move in the world's weapons market, with its East Asian neighbors keeping a watchful eye. Getting ahead means studying ahead, but with materials ahead of their current grade, the government imposes a new law banning schools from teaching higher grade-level curriculum. And sweat it out with a couple of hot items that will fit into your home. Personal saunas you and I can afford. On Korea Today, Wednesday, April 16th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Good morning and thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Jin Ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. The weather yesterday here in Seoul was quite chilly and definitely windy, but it was a completely different story in the eastern province of Gangwon-do.
Right. Temperatures for the cities of Sokcho and Gangneung in Gangwon-do province soared above 27 degrees Celsius yesterday, and this is the temperature you usually see in mid-June.
That's right. And
Right, you
Daegu,
see people enjoying the beach.
they're having
already,
a great
right?
time, right? It's just like summer. But Daegu is known to be the warmest city in Korea, but Gangwon-do has seen a lot of different temperature fluctuations. And look at them, they're wearing shorts. And it's not
T-shirts
even,
already?
exactly, it's not even pre-summer anymore. Now it's like
Already
summer.
Right. This is April now, so it's a bit bizarre. But
I'm just
we'll
curious
take a
how hot it'll get
Right,
during
this
the summer.
We're
Right.
dreading that. We'll take a look at the weather conditions later on in the show, but we will begin this Wednesday morning with our top story. High-ranking officials from South Korea and Japan will meet later today in hopes of narrowing their differences on the issue of Japan's past military sexual slavery, marking the first time the two countries sit down with the topic as the official agenda. Director General of the Northeast Asian Affairs Bureau, Lee Sang-deok, will meet with his Japanese counterpart Junichi Ihara and discuss the possibility of compensating the victims of sexual slavery from before and during World War II. Seoul wants Tokyo to provide individual compensation for each woman on a legal and humanitarian basis, while Japan has rebuffed repeated requests, saying all liabilities were settled in the 1965 Normalization Treaty between the two governments. The two sides are expected to look into holding regular discussions on the matter, as it will likely take a considerable amount of time before the two can find common ground.
The gravity of the recent spy agency scandal is weighing in on President Park Geun-hye as she made a swift apology and called on the National Intelligence Service to make reforms. The president issued the apology during a cabinet meeting just one day after prosecutors indicted two officials from the NIS for their alleged roles in turning in forged evidence in a key case that has put the agency under the microscope.
유감스럽게도 국정원의 잘못된 관행과 철저하지 못한 관리 체계의 허점이 드러나서 국민들께 심려를 끼쳐드리게 되어 송구스럽게 생각합니다.
The apology followed the prosecution's announcement Monday saying two immigration documents submitted by the NIS in a recent espionage case involving a former Seoul official were fabricated. In the fourth apology President Park made since taking office last year, she reaffirmed her commitment to hold the NIS accountable for any further wrongdoing. Spy agency chief Nam Jae-jun also apologized earlier Tuesday morning, promising all-out reforms to root out corrupt practices within the agency.
Defense officials from South Korea and the United States have discussed delaying the transfer once again of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul that is set to take place at the end of next year. The two sides are believed to have agreed in principle to postpone the transfer, citing a series of recent provocations from North Korea and the degree of South Korea's military readiness, and will hold further negotiations on the when and how. The current December 2015 deadline was set in 2010 under the Lee Myung-bak administration after the first 2012 deadline was pushed back. In the meantime, the agreement between Seoul and Washington on sharing the cost of stationing U.S. troops in South Korea has passed the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, with Seoul paying $880 million annually until 2018. That's a 5.8% increase from last year. The bill will be put to vote at the National Assembly plenary session on this Wednesday.
Now, at the beginning of this month, Japan lifted a self-imposed ban on arms export that dated back 5 decades. Now, it's being seen as a rather aggressive move by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to strengthen the nation's military capabilities and increase its presence in the region. And to tell us more about this, we're now joined by Arirang News' Song Ji-sun here in the studio. Good morning, Ji-sun.
Good morning, Shinzo. Now, if we read between the lines, Japan's goal is not just to boost its lagging arms industry, it's also to gain support in territorial disputes by establishing ties with countries that are in similar situation with Japan. Now, from reactions from across the Pacific to Abe's ambitions, here's what we can expect as for what comes next. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe isn't just talking about making his nation stronger. He's taking actions. A half-a-century-long ban on Japan's arms export has been lifted to help the nation beef up its weapons industry and self-defense capabilities. Japan's post-World War II constitution, drawn up in 1967, banned the country from waging war, along with sales of weapons to countries with communist governments, those involved in international conflicts, or others subject to United Nations sanctions. Japan's cabinet says the shipments of weapons that will soon leave the country will be monitored closely. Weapons will not be transferred to countries that violate international treaties or United Nations Security Council resolutions, and arms exports are allowed if they contribute to peace or Japan's national security. Tokyo also says it will ensure that the weapons are not used for purposes outside their original intent or transferred to third countries without its consent. The United States supports the move and Japan's right to collective self-defense.
We encourage and support that effort, and we believe the decisions made by the Japanese government.
Diplomacy experts say Washington's backing is not at all surprising. The two nations are strong trans-Pacific allies, and the U.S. hopes Japan can serve as a counterbalance to China in the years to come.
The U.S. sees Japan as its proxy for maintaining balance in the Northeast Asian region. It's called rebalancing, and ties between U.S. and Japan will grow stronger as China grows at a faster rate both economically and militarily.
Experts say Japan has a lot to gain, both domestically and internationally, by opening up its weapons export market.
The major goal of developing weapons is to arm the nation's own army. But when you also export the weapons, you can arm them at a lower cost because of the increased sales, and at the same time acquire a partially controlling power over the country that imports your weapons. Although not immediately, Japan will have a stronger voice in the region over the next decade.
Less than a week after easing its arms export regulations, Japan signed an agreement with Australia to jointly develop submarines while sealing a free trade deal. And potential foreign buyers are already lining up. According to Japanese daily Nihon Geijai last week, officials from France and the UK are already making visits to Japanese defense contractors like Mitsubishi and Kawasaki Heavy Industries with an interest in starting R&D and collaborative projects. Supporters hope that the relaxation in the policy will boost homegrown arms manufacturers at a time when regional tensions are simmering.
So, Ji-sun, why are these countries so interested in cooperating with Japan to develop their weapons? What's Japan's strength in this field?
Well, for example, those European buyers mentioned above are especially interested in Japan's very developed electronics technologies, and they have mentioned radars, sensors, and other key components that could be loaded onto the missiles. Now, those are just some of the areas that those developed countries could co-develop in the weapons market. And until now, Japan was blocked from exporting those weapons, but they have been developing and supplying its own army, including self-defense forces. And that's one of the reasons why Australia have decided to co-develop submarines, because Japan is considered one of the top level in the world in terms of jet fighters as well as Navy and its warships.
Right. So Western countries seem to be supportive for Japan's exports of weapons. But what are the reactions from the neighboring countries such as Korea and China in particular?
Well, their reactions have been subdued so far, and they have chosen to take an action of wait-and-see position. Now, the Chinese government has said his country was watching the move, and Korea's foreign ministry spokesman said this process should be carried out with the maximum level of transparency in consideration with concerns by neighboring countries. Now, China and Korea are both at loggerheads in terms of territorial disputes. Now, China with Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands, and Korea with Dokdo Islets, where Japan continues to make claims over.
Right. So the consequences following this latest move could affect the relations among the countries in Northeast Asia. Now, how about the global arms market? What changes, if any, could we see?
Well, as of right now, Japan barely has any stakes in the world's weapon market because of this half a century long export ban. But the world's top exporter is arguably the United States, with about a third of the world's weapons market. Russia followed with about a quarter of the weapons market, and those two combined make up half of the world's weapons providers. Now, other leaders include European countries like Germany, France, and the UK, along with China, which now stands as the world's fifth largest arms exporter. This supports the argument that Japan is trying to fortify its weapons production to compete with China. And the buyers? Just about any country that wants to high-tech arms to protect themselves. That includes, of course, South Korea, India, and China, and a number of Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian countries. Now, Tokyo will likely provide those military aids to less developed Southeast Asian countries to actually get their support in territorial disputes, because they're in a similar situation like Japan is with China. And of course, experts say that Japan has now allowed itself into the global market. They will gain more market share in the market because of their developed technologies. And of course, it will emerge as one of the world's top weapons exporters because of their highly possessed technologies and capabilities.
Right. So we'll have to wait and see how much Japan will be competitive in this global market and how it will respond to the concerns of neighboring countries. Thank you, Ji-sun, for that report today.
Thank you.
Good morning. Now let's run through the front pages of your newspapers. And this was also mentioned in the headlines earlier on in the show. I did mention about it yesterday too, but it's regarding the investigation into an evidence fabrication case involving the NIS. And it's on most of the papers this morning as well. So let us begin with that on Gyeongyang. I think we will be going back to it's on Joseonilbo, sorry. And the headline says, NIS director remains in office with an apology. Yesterday, President Park Geun-hye apologized for the spy agency's alleged forgery of evidence. She said should any similar cases occur again, she will take strong measures against whoever is accountable. And that's the director of NIS, Nam Jae-jun, offering an apology as well. And he said he would make thorough efforts to reform the embattled agency. And if we go on to 중앙일보, we'll take a look at this headline here regarding a disgraced United States. And the headline reads, an era of hot peace, a disgraced U.S. Now, hot peace is a relative concept to the more commonly known term Cold War. You can imagine what the meaning would be. And many refer to the conflict between Russia and the West surrounding the Ukrainian crisis as a situation of hot peace. Now, this story is recognizing that in an era of hot peace, the power of the U.S. is being undermined as more and more countries tend to ignore warnings coming from the U.S. Now, for instance, as the picture depicts, in the latest provocation from Russia, as tensions near Ukraine mount, a Russian fighter fighter jet buzzed a U.S. Navy destroyer in several passes over the course of a 90-minute period on Saturday, despite the warnings from the U.S. And going to 동아일보 now, we'll have a look at this headline regarding a worst internet security flaw. And the headline says, fear of heartbleed, the worst bug and unprotected Korea on hacking. Now, the heartbleed bug has been showing a critical vulnerability for internet security. The heartbleed is an error in OpenSSL, which is a widely used technology that encrypts internet traffic. The whole world now has been on high alert since the bug has recently been discovered. However, as the subheadline says, the Korean government, as well as the country's financial sector, has been carefree about this a week into the bug's discovery without executing any security measures thus far. And switching gears to some other domestic news here on Gyeongyang Shinmun, we'll actually take a look at this headline here onto the side. And the headline says, government to offer a near $3,000 incentive for high school graduate employees at SMEs continuing to work. The government plans to give such an incentive to those workers at small and medium-sized companies, and these measures in part, of course, to boost the employment of younger people. The government also announced measures to bolster vocational training. The apprentice schools benchmarking those in Germany or Switzerland will be set up, where students will get job training at enterprises for 3 or 4 days a week, while attending school classes just once or twice a week. And the subheadline says that these measures will help Korea get closer to the target of creating 500,000 jobs by 2017. Now, in the meantime, if we look at the Korea Economic Daily, this is giving a different perspective of the same story. Its top story is showing another perspective, and the headline says the efficacy of measures for employees at SMEs, they fail to last even just a year. Now, the government has announced these plans, but experts are skeptical whether the measures will dramatically increase youth employment. The subheadline says that there will be limitations with simply just giving more incentives because structural problems will still remain. And finally, let's go on to the Mail Business newspaper and take a look at this headline here. And the headline says, a Marshall Plan for the Korean Peninsula as a stepping stone for a peaceful reunification. Now, South Korean experts at the North Korea Policy Forum, jointly organized by the Daily and Korea Finance Corporation, proposed at a forum yesterday a Korean version of the Marshall Plan as a way to reunify the two Koreas and bring about co-prosperity. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Wednesday. And coming up are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
As we mentioned at the top of the hour, the weather was a bit of a mixed bag yesterday. The Seoul conditions were cool, but it was steaming hot in Gangneung and Daegu.
Exactly. Yeah, the temperatures were fluctuating across the country. For more on today's weather, though, Chun Song-cho has that for us, and she joins us from Songpa-gu District.
Good morning, Song-cho.
Good morning, guys. The current conditions right now feel very much similar to yesterday. Nice, cool, and breezy outside, except that it's even hazier. Today, the skies won't be so clear as more clouds and heavy fog are in the forecast. Not only that, the level of fine particulate matter in the atmosphere will increase in parts of the country, so those with respiratory problems in those regions should take extra caution. Meanwhile, temperatures will remain unseasonably above the annual average in southern regions. However, the nationwide rainfall expected on Thursday should cool things down a little bit, and hopefully this will alleviate drought concerns for farmers who who are battling with insufficient precipitation this year. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Seoul's highs are 21, Jeju and Gangneung the coolest at 17, and Daegu the warmest at 27 degrees. Today we have a high pressure system moving eastward from the South Sea, but tomorrow a trough of low pressure approaching from the southwest will bring in more clouds, relieving rain showers on its way, starting from Jeju in the morning all the way up the nation into the afternoon. After this, warm and clear conditions will come back for the weekend, so you might want to start planning weekend outings to enjoy spring. That's all for me, reporting live from the Seokchon Lake. Back to Minjung in the studio for international news.
That's right. Time now for a look at the international headlines we're following at this hour. For that, we connect live to our Eunice Kim joining us from the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Minjung.
Now, more unrest in Nigeria as we're learning of a major kidnapping of schoolgirls just hours after the explosion, the bus explosion you told us about yesterday.
That's right. Some 100 girls are believed to have been kidnapped by militants in Nigeria, and authorities suspect this is the work of the same Islamist group that they believe orchestrated the bus station attack you referred to. Now, the abduction took place at a hostel Monday night where the teenage girls were presumably resting after they were summoned to take an exam at school. Gunmen got past a soldier and a police officer keeping watch to kidnap and get away with that group of 100 girls, though one official said some of them managed to get away by jumping off the moving open truck. This the latest strike by presumably Boko Haram. Their name means Western education is forbidden. They've been waging a campaign against the Goodluck Jonathan government, killing 1,500 people this year alone. A state of emergency has been in place for nearly a year now in 3 northeastern states of Africa's most populous nation. Next, let's get a check on the situation in Ukraine. The Kiev government has announced a military campaign against pro-Russian separatists in the east is underway. And in what appears to be one of the first signs of the, quote, stage-by-stage anti-terrorist operation, Kiev said it has reclaimed a small airport in Kramatorsk after clashing with some 30 armed and uniformed men without insignia. The airport is just south of Sloviansk, one of the cities seized by pro-Russian gunmen this past weekend. Acting President Oleksandr Turchinov said the operation was to protect Ukrainian citizens and to stop the terror. Russia has warned against a military response to the pro-Russian movement, warning it could step away from Thursday's four-party negotiations on Ukraine in Geneva in response.
And finally, let's turn our attention to India. Its Supreme Court has handed a landmark ruling, really, that's much awaited news for the transgender community there. This is huge.
Right. India's Supreme Court issued a ruling that will legally recognize transgender people as a third gender. And by its definition, this includes transsexuals, cross-dressers, eunuchs, and transvestites as well. So by one estimate, India is home to about 2 million transgender people. And campaigners say they live on the fringes of society, ostracized and often in poverty. And in granting these rights, the court said it is the right of every human being to choose their gender, and also ordered the government to include transgender people within the quotas they have set for jobs for minority people. And that's a wrap of the international news that we're following this morning.
And still ahead, studying ahead might sound like something to encourage, but when it gets out of hand, that's when the government comes in. A law banning schools for using test questions outside the existing curriculum has been passed, and we'll shed some light on this. Stay tuned.
Two countries have come together for a collaboration at the National Theater of Korea, and the result is Korean traditional dance through the choreography of a foreign contemporary artist. Our Im Yoon-hee has this interesting report. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So the National Dance Company of Korea has recently cast this world-renowned choreographer from Finland. And the reason they cast him is because he really embodies a similar style to traditional Korean dance, which the National Dance Company of Korea is known for. And so let's take a look at a piece choreographed by a foreign choreographer.
It starts out small, with just one lone dancer, then grows to 3. Then a few more dancers are sucked in, and a few more, resulting in a vortex. It can move, twist, stretch, and interact in complex ways. These dancers bring a beautiful yet intimidating swirl of movement to the stage for a performance befitting its name in this collaboration work featuring Finnish choreographer Tero Saarinen.
In many levels we have this vortex. So there is this I think, eternal powers of male powers and female powers, and this yin and yang idea of forces, and what they are creating together. And then there is this ancient and contemporary kind of handshake, which is also for me a vortex. Finland and Korea meeting its vortex.
It's been over 50 years since the National Dance Company of Korea has collaborated with the foreign choreographer. But Saarinen brings his unique dance philosophy of naturalism to the stage, harmonizing perfectly with the National Dance Company of Korea's roots in traditional dance. Most Western dances tend to aim for the sky. Saarinen maintains a low center of gravity, parallel to traditional Korean dance. The result is a unique blend of the contemporary, with evidence of Korea's traditions seen in the live music performed with traditional instruments on the stage, as well as the costumes inspired by elements of Korea's culture.
If we can make something that this will make a sound in the end, so that we put some kind of loudspeakers here in the dress, it should really make a noise. So that's why it's so thick. I wanted it to be out of the organza so that it's very transparent. So I think that in the end, here are the buttons, because he's going to have on the other side the fan, which is made out of the organza. So it's transparent and the light will come nicely through the material.
There are no boundaries on this stage, as this nature-inspired performance sweeps the grounds, bringing sounds and movements to life. It's an opportunity to show the adaptability of Korea's traditional culture, as these dancers transform history and modernity into this vortex on the stage.
Wow, it's very riveting. I mean, it gets you focused right into it. Now, tell us a little bit about the National Dance Company of Korea. How do they represent Korean culture and Korean dance?
Right, so they're one of Korea's most renowned dance companies. They've been performing since the early 60s, and they're really known for embodying that Korean traditional dance, but at the same time, bringing in aspects of contemporary dance and kind of mixing it. Sometimes they'll go for a more traditional piece, sometimes they'll go for a very modern contemporary work.
Okay, and of course, Korean tradition is involved. They want to represent Korean tradition as well as culture. Tell us how they incorporate that into their performances.
So you could really see it in their costumes and their choreography. So in this case, their costumes, you can see traces of the Korean traditions and cultures inspired in the costumes as well as the choreography, and so they really are known for this. But sometimes they do take a very different approach, so you really have to keep an eye out, and they are a very exciting group to watch.
Well, it sounds like a very interesting piece, and from the looks of it, it looks like you'll be focused on that for the length of the whole performance.
Exactly.
All right, Yoon-hee, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And still ahead on Korea Today, now saunas and steam baths. These are a part of Korean culture for beating fatigue. And we're going to get a look at some personal items on hot items. Angela Park and Peter Bint, they have some Korean sauna systems for your home. and it's relatively small. It'll fit right in your room or in the bathroom, and it'll help you boost your blood circulation and relax those tight muscles.
Let's try putting Young in that sauna booth later on in the show. Time now to check some of the hottest keywords trending on that line. For you campers out there, camping spots in Seoul will open a bit earlier this year. Are you a camper?
No, but I would love to go out on camping sometime. You will have to be quick in making reservations if you want to enjoy a beautiful sunset together with a perfect view of Hangang River. For more, joining us from the digital room is our Seom Misorang. Good morning, Misorang.
Good morning.
Good morning. Camping sites was definitely on people's minds because it was one of the most highly searched terms yesterday. But before I get to that, let's first check the other items that were also buzzing online. The idol group Block B released their latest music video yesterday, and this got many people's attention, as did the Sunset Park, which will reopen its camping grounds in just 2 weeks. Meanwhile, a photo of a 28-layer sandwich, a layer for each letter of the alphabet, generated a lot of clicks, as did photos of the super camping car equipped with everything from 22 cameras to its own office and kitchen. Finally, the Badminton World Federation yesterday lifted the one-year ban on Olympic star Lee Yong-dae, much to his fans' delight. OSJ will cover this in more detail later, but for now, let's go back to Block B and catch a glimpse of that intriguing music video. The 7-member boy band Block B yesterday released the full music video to their latest song, Jackpot. The video is reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland and features actress Kim Se-ron as a timid young girl visiting Block B World for the first time. It follows her adventures in their crazy circus-themed world as she transforms into a strong bad girl character. Now, there are some eerie scenes on there with members trapping Kim Se-ron in an abandoned circus at one point and eating insects in another. To this, online viewers were at opposite ends with a clear distinction between the lovers and haters. Jackpot will be available for both online and offline purchase from tomorrow, and Block B will hold their first concert, Blockbuster 2014, the next month. Personally, I'm not too sure about this one, but check the full music video out for yourself and tell us what you think. Moving on to our next issue, camping sites. It looks like camping lovers here in Seoul will soon gather at one of the 5 smaller parks of the World Cup Park. The Noel Sunset Park camping grounds will open on May 1st, and this whole city started taking online reservations yesterday. This is an earlier opening compared to previous years, a move designed to accommodate the increasing camping culture and an earlier arrival of warm temperatures. The popular site is known for its picturesque views of the Hangang River, and as the name suggests, its beautiful sunsets. Although the exact amount varies depending on the specific zone within the park, it will cost you an average of 15,000 won, or $15 for a one-night stay with up to 5 of your family and friends. Now, you will have to take your own tent, but there are zones with access to electricity. For those of you wanting to partake in this unique camping within the city experience, hop onto the official website for more details and reservation. Just remember to book really fast because spots are quickly filling up. That's it for today's News Sum Up. I'll be back with more updates tomorrow.
A legendary KBO pitcher has returned to the league this season, and that is Im Chang-yong. Im hopes to help the Samsung Lions win another Korean Series title, but considering his age, many are questioning whether he will be able to do so. To tell us more about his comeback, our SJ Lee joins us now in the studio. Good morning, SJ.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Now, we've talked about this guy before and his dreams of trying to play in the majors and so forth, but his dreams of playing in the majors, unfortunately for him, came to an end a little bit too early. But for the Samsung Lions fan, this is obviously great news for them after they lost Oh Seung-hwan during the off-season. Of course, losing KBO's career save leader in Oh Seung-hwan was a huge hit on the defending champions. But now that he's back, the Samsung Lions are the favorites to win it all once again. Now, I'm not saying 37 years is an old age, because I think someone here is 37, but not a young age for a pitcher athlete neither. So there are a lot of experts who doubt that he will be as effective as he was back in the days, but still better than not having a solid closer on the team.
It almost feels like yesterday that we talked about him possibly joining the majors, but he's back already. I'm not going to blame you and your prediction.
Hey, I didn't make any prediction.
Touché.
But the Samsung Lions, does he have any luck this time?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, currently the KBO hitters are a lot better than they were back when he first pitched in the KBO before going over to Japan and the US as well. But at the same time, he is one of those kind of pitchers that you don't often see. Now, he's a sidearm pitcher who throws here. And when a pitcher with that kind of arm angle throws at that speed, there's going to be a lot of movement. Now, in fact, his fastball is known as the snake fastball because it moves like a snake would. And we saw his return appearance over the weekend. And some of the hitters were confused with his pitch and had a hard time hitting it. So it's definitely going to be very hard to hit. But the only issue is whether or not he can stay healthy. Now, he's had a couple of major elbow surgeries before, and he's not a young pitcher anymore, like I said. So as long as he still stays healthy, he's going to give these Samsung Lions 25 to 30 saves this season.
And it is really hard to find a sidearm pitcher with his style of fastballs there. But yeah, Yisora mentioned this just a little while ago in her segment. But Lee Yong-dae, apparently he's being reinstated after a one-year ban. Tell us about this. This is big news.
This is huge news, and this was all over the news yesterday. Now, of course, a couple of months back, we heard the news about Lee Yong-dae and also his teammate Kim Ki-jung getting a one-year suspension for failing to take a doping test. Now, obviously, this wasn't his fault. It was the Korea Badminton Federation's fault for failing to schedule him the test. But now that he's back and reinstated, this is going to be obviously good news. Now, everyone felt that the ban was unfair just because, like I said, it wasn't Lee Yong-dae's fault. And fortunately, the World Badminton governing body felt the same way and reinstated him from the suspension, which means Lee Yong-dae and Kim Ki-jung will be able to compete at the Incheon Asian Games in September.
So it was good that he continued his training during the suspension. So we'll have to look forward to the Asian Games now.
Definitely.
And he has a lot of female fans, to be honest.
A lot of female fans and a lot of male fans.
If you're good looking, if you're good looking, you automatically get those female fans.
And he's very talented too.
Very talented.
That too. Thank you, SJ.
Always a pleasure.
South Korean students are some of the best performing in the world, according to OECD statistics. But is there a too much or studying too far ahead? Our Dr. Kim Byung-ju joins us with more. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning. The answer would be yes, of course.
So there is.
Yeah, the big deal in Korean education market is studying ahead of schedule. Studying in advance ahead of the academic schedule, like elementary school students studying middle school, school material, and middle school students studying high school material and all that kind of stuff. So what's happening is at the National Assembly, they just passed a law recently that bans teaching advanced material in schools. And basically what they do is they prohibit teaching or any discussion of the advanced material in school to begin with. That's for point first. And then after school, beyond the regular teaching schedules, in school they cannot deal with this kind of material ahead of time, ahead of the academic schedule. And also, interesting thing about this is the private education system, the hagwon systems, they cannot advertise that they actually will be teaching this kind of material ahead of schedule. So this is a very interesting law that can probably be found only in Korea.
Well, the key right there is advertise. They can't advertise, right?
Right.
Well, my daughter is still in kindergarten, but all
is
of
she
her
studying high school material now?
Yes, I am making her.
Right.
No, all of her friends are already studying. They're the problem with studying too. Like they should be playing, but they're studying with elementary school materials. So I'm getting competitive too and thinking, well, do I have to do that too? And the competition gets heated up and it gets out of hand.
Yeah, another typical Korean mom to be soon, right? But the thing is, the whole main idea of this new law, there is some opinion from the experts that we just interviewed. So let's take a look at it and also ask some of the students about how they view overall phenomena here.
I'm a middle school senior. I started studying ahead for high school mathematics since the winter vacation.
So middle school studying high school material.
Right, exactly.
I'm in 3rd grade in middle school. I finished 10th grade mathematics while preparing for a competition.
I'm a senior in middle school. I've finished 11th grade advanced math, and for English, I've been going to TOEFL prep classes.
Most students are involved in studying ahead regardless of where they live, their grades or age. The most common subjects are English and mathematics. Most students are at least a semester to about a year or two ahead of their regular schedule, while in serious cases, elementary school students may be learning high school material. The goal of this law is to eliminate the causes of studying abroad. If questions that go beyond the original curriculum appear on school exams, students have no choice but to learn things in advance. This law aims to remove such reasons and normalize public education.
So basically what they're talking about is teaching these students material like 5 years or sometimes 10 years ahead of time. So perhaps I'm sure our expat viewers here would think this is quite crazy, but it's very widely practiced indeed. Some people are saying like 80% of the middle school students are indeed studying high school material, and that's my experience as well for my children. So whether you like it or not, this has been overall trend, and this is what the law is addressing here. And also, we have prepared the statistics that actually shows what's happening here. So maybe we should take a look at the videos that we have prepared here.
Okay, let's roll that.
Overall statistics, as you can see here, the overall about 44% of those, these schools that have been surveyed are saying they are indeed dealing with this kind of material in school, basically. And as I mentioned, middle school seniors, it has become, common thing for them to study. Even like common schools, as you can see on the screen here, like about 41%. Common style high schools, they have been teaching this kind of advanced material so far. And, even take a look at this exam questions in school. In high school, sometimes they ask math questions that will be expected in college. And this is happening in regular high schools we're talking about here. So very unique Korean style phenomena we're discussing
Okay,
here.
so we're seeing high schools, public schools that are introducing this material. So what's the reason for this?
Basically, it's all because of the competition here in Korea. You want your kids to do well in school, and for that, what you have to do is, if you teach them ahead of time, ahead of academic schedule, it will be obvious that they will do a great job in school, right? And what happens is everyone does it. Then what happens is in high school, just a regular school education becomes kind of a regular, academic schedule becomes irrelevant. So school began teaching this kind of advanced material and giving questions about questions ahead of time and all that. So this is a vicious cycle.
And obviously the parents are going to want this kind of material to be taught at schools, and they're going to flock to the areas where they have schools that teach this material. So the chain goes on. The chain reaction just keeps going.
It's a vicious cycle here. And we have prepared
How big is the private education market now that this is very closely linked with this whole phenomenon?
That's what I was going to get to. We have a huge, private education market as a result of this competition. And we have some numbers here. We are talking about as much as, be ready for this, 150 trillion won market, which is 145 billion US dollars worth. By 2011, the market will grow to that point. And as I said, about 70% of young children in preschool education program are studying, as Minjung mentioned, elementary school material and all that. So the whole cycle is going rather crazy, if you will. And this is just a cause effect affecting one another here.
Right, so the idea is to keep things in check and to cool down the heated competition around the country. But there is fierce debate regarding this law, and there are proponents and opponents to this law. And tell us about some of the I guess when we're done with this roll of video, that we will talk about this, the proponents and opponents from both sides.
Right, exactly. One of the key problems of the new law is it is not doing really anything substantial for the private education market rather than banning the advertisement. So a lot of people are saying, well, they'll continue to teach this kind of material ahead of time. So what do we do about that? I think that will be further political discussion that needs to be taking place at the National Assembly here. But for now, at least, they're asking these regular schools not to have exams on this material that ahead of time. So it's a necessary, I have to say, first step that's being taken in the right direction in recognizing the problem.
And you're also going to have those parents who are just going to keep going with what they're doing already, but at
That's
the same
what we're
time,
expecting.
there has to be some opposition to this too.
The overall, they're saying this is like a free choice question, freedom of choice. You're supposed to choose whatever you want to do. So there's a fundamental question about that. And so the thing is, altogether, because of it, the whole issue is such a big one right at this point. And as I said, this is just a small step in the right direction. And there's a whole bunch of changes that need to come all the way. Even changing the overall system of college entrance exam itself. Rather than if they can focus more on the whole personality and maturity of the person itself, rather than giving tough questions and try to figure out and rank the students as the way we are doing it right at this point, I think we will have some hope. But otherwise, this new small law will not make as much of a change. So this is just the first step in the right direction for that huge question out there.
This is such a hot potato with such a conflict of interest. Thank you, Dr. Kim, for covering this for us.
Thanks.
Today on our hot items, we are going to take a look at some sauna items. Are you ready to go into that sauna?
I am not going in there. I sweat a lot. There's no way. But these saunas are pretty cool because they can really fit into that corner of your room and it doesn't take that much space and very useful as well.
Angela Park and Peter Bint are waiting for us.
Except where's Peter Bint?
There is Peter Bint.
I hope I'm not disturbing anyone, but wow, that is amazing. I feel refreshed.
You are, slacking on the job here.
No, it's part of the research.
He hasn't even broke a sweat.
I've got my fancy hat on. I'm going to take this off and put my little misogaru down, this drink that you enjoy in the sauna. But these are really popular. Not these, the jjimjilbang in saunas in Korea, for relieving fatigue and whatnot. And it can help relieve stress from the busy lifestyle too, right?
Right. Now, jjimjilbangs have become a really big cultural space, multi-purpose cultural space, and it's really popular amongst, it doesn't matter how old you are, what demographics you fit in, but the problem is it can be a little bit of a hassle to kind of trek out there, maybe on the weekends. They tend to be busy as well.
That's true, right? So today on Hot Items, what we've got for you are some fantastic products that you can use at home, in-house saunas, so to speak. So the first product that I'm going to introduce is this one right behind me here. This big sauna. It's a self-assembly one, so you can do it yourself at home. And as well as that, it is a far infrared sauna, okay?
Okay, so it really does just kind of look like a miniature version of some of the bigger saunas we see in bigger spaces.
Sure.
So I'm sure there's a different aspect, though. What makes this one so special?
Yeah, well, if you look inside, there's no steam. Like the steam saunas are quite popular in jjimjilbangs, right? But there's no steam coming out here. So we'll talk about how it works in a little while. Okay. But like I said, this is self-assembly. So it's got 6 wooden panels. You can put this together in literally a matter of minutes and move it about in the house. And how it works is it uses far infrared rays as opposed to steam and water.
Okay, so that sounds like the catch, kind of the important point there. Far infrared infrared rays, but what are the benefits of using that particular system versus your conventional saunas?
Well, these infrared rays, they penetrate deep into the body, which means that it increases circulation. Circulation increasing means it can help with cellular growth as well, which can slow down some aging. It can help with your immune system, help stop fatigue, and also lifestyle diseases as well. So all round, lots of benefits.
Lifestyle diseases. Sounds a little bit scary. I'm looking here because I'm assuming I have to get in here, Peter, right?
Absolutely.
To test how great this product is. So this is how I would control it?
Sure, we've got the digital control panel on the outside, but there's also one inside. So while you're enjoying a sauna, you don't have to come out to switch it on and off and change the temperature. It's just literally the touch of a button, and it's turned on, the light turns on, you can control the temperature, you can preheat it from here. It takes about 10 minutes to warm up, but I've already done it for you, so why don't you get in and see how warm it is.
It's really warm, so if you notice, I'm kind of inching closer this way.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a seat inside. Don't close the door, I'm a little scared.
Really?
No, but okay, it's actually kind of comfortable. I thought it'd be hard and uncomfortable.
No, not at all. It's not just heat efficient. I mean, it's got surface panels in there which work by emitting those infrared rays, and that cuts down on any heat loss as well, because less electromagnetic rays are emitted. And why it's so comfortable is they've designed the seat there ergonomically to fit the human spine. So you could spend literally, I guess, up to an hour in there, and you'd be absolutely comfortable. And the lamp in there as well makes it a bit more cozy. You can turn it off if you're feeling adventurous at nighttime.
Yeah, I mean, the bench, it has a slight dip and a curve to it. So like you said, it's not going to be just a flat surface where you're struggling to, you know.
And it looks quite nice, right?
Well,
Maybe you can use it as a
about
wardrobe.
the size of an airplane bathroom or something?
Yeah, about there. That's
About
exactly
that?
a good comparison. A little bit maybe small depending on, but yeah, it's about that size.
Cozy, but if you're claustrophobic, then you might have to.
But the wood that it's made from is important, right? This is red cedar wood, and what's great about that is it doesn't require any extra waterproofing, right? It doesn't emit any harmful chemicals either, and it's the only Korean sauna product that has the Ross mark for safety as well.
Okay, so this is great, but we're going to move on now to mine, because you have your sauna, but I'm sure you've heard of it. We say 반신욕 in Korea, but it's the half-bathing kind of a custom or cultural thing that people are taking advantage of because there's some health benefits you can get from half-bathing.
So you bathe like the lower half of your body usually here in Korea, but this works without water, right?
Oh, that's cute.
That's the key point here. This is by Worden, and it's a half-bathing, premium half-bather. Again, like you said, it uses more of a sauna effect. Peter, if you don't mind being the guinea pig here, I'm going to ask you to get in here in just a little bit. But the point here is that it does not use heat fans like a lot of other half-bathers you may see on the market. It uses an originally developed technology where it has a natural distribution of heat, and it allows for more effective and distribution or circulation of heat, I should say.
Wow, so how does that natural circulation work?
Okay, well, this is kind of heavy. I'm going to try to lift it up here if our viewers can see. But there's 5 layers here to this foot panel, and we have the carbon net, we have the carbon mat as well, and then red clay balls, as you can see.
And these help with heating the natural circulation.
And there's a TDP as well, and of course we have the wood panel made out of natural cypress wood. So the TDP, I'm sure a lot of people aren't familiar with that, but it's microelements, a mixture of microelements that's necessary for the human body, and there's a special heat system that works with that for deep penetration of the heat rays. And then these clay balls, they contribute to effects.
These are important.
Yeah, making kind of a healthy skin effect there that you can enjoy.
Those are the Hwangto clay balls, right?
Yeah, that's right, Young. Very, very good. And also this wood, it has an antibacterial phytoncide effect because it's made out of untouched natural cypress wood.
Fantastic. So this lower half body bath that works without water, I want to see it in action. So can I get it?
Makes for a great reading spot too.
Yeah, there's a little
you
dorm.
can have lunch.
You can eat.
But it looks like a soapbox racer.
It looks like what Charles Xavier in the X-Men
There you go.
rides.
Slide the cover.
Wow.
Very easy to work.
And the chair leans back as well.
Wow.
This is
45
super.
degrees.
Oh, yes. I can get used
45
to
degrees.
this.
So I'm going to turn it on for you, Peter. And you can set the time and the temperature. Right now, we're going to overheat you. We're going to set it at 50
It is
degrees.
incredibly warm in here, and it's controlled with all the buttons here. That's fantastic.
So, and actually, Min-jung pointed out a very good thing. Not only is it comfortable because the chair reclines, but there's a cover where you can put your laptop on here. You can watch TV. Snack maybe as well. So it's great. How does that feel, Peter?
It feels incredibly comfortable. It is really good, and it also smells quite nice. But there's problems with dry heat for too long, right?
Right. A lot of people are a little bit worried about that, right? So actually, Worden is the first company to try to come up with a way to fight the negative effects of dry heat. So there's a steam function. Actually, Peter, as you make your way out of there, I'm going to ask. It's about 100 milliliters of water. That's about all that you need. There's a little compartment on the side. I think you can see it.
Yeah, it says water on it.
If you lift the lid, pour the water in there.
Okay.
And then once that's in, I'm going to press the steam function.
So you only need a tiny amount of water.
Tiny amount of water. Fantastic. Press the steam function, assuming Peter's still in there, and we can slide it back here, and it'll start to enjoy the steam.
So it's not just dry heat; it's wet heat as well, and it smells fantastic. This wood looks pretty
Cypress,
amazing.
cedar, rosewood, it contributes to the stronger fight inside effect.
You know, I've smelled a lot of scents here in the studio, but never a sauna scent, right?
That's not me, I promise.
All right, thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Which one do you like more, the booth
I like
or the
booth.
chair?
I would go with the booth.
I like the chair.
For me.
Me too.
The chair, The ladies, the chair, and you booth. All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And thank you for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.